What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dragon Ball Version Podcast, Episode 2. Before I introduce everyone here, I just want to say that thank you guys so much. We were actually, after we published the first episode, the number 3 top trending anime podcast, and number 2 in Canada. So shout out to Canada. And I'm pretty sure the top trending Dragon Ball podcast. So that's crazy. Thank you guys for all that support, especially after one episode. And we have today the legend of Dragon Ball. I don't think anybody knows more than this guy. Geekdom101. Welcome.
I appreciate it. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I appreciate the kind
As
words.
far as I'm
Thank
concerned.
you.
But
Well,
I mean, Toriyama might know a bit more than you, though.
Who?
Toriyama.
A bit more, but he forgets things a lot. So
Yeah, fair enough. You don't forget.
he does want to forget things.
Yeah, and then we have the anime dude. Welcome.
Yellow. What's up?
And of course, we have Ray, the anime and Dragon Ball virgin. What up, Ray?
What up, everyone? Happy to be here again.
And again, to just clarify, Ray is the person who has little to no experience with Dragon Ball Z and no experience with Dragon Ball, and also no experience with anime in general. So it's pretty much he's reacting to all the tropes, he's reacting to everything for the brand new time, and a lot of us are probably jealous because I'm sure a lot of us are like, oh man, I wish I could relive my favorite anime for the first time.
Hell yeah.
And Ray could totally do that, and we're watching him do it and react. So it's pretty cool.
For sure, yeah.
I'm very happy for Ray because he gets to experience this, and he's experiencing it the right way. You're not doing Z first. You're going in the correct order, beginning to end. So when you get to Z, you'll have full context of who these characters are, their importance in the story, and you'll probably be wondering, why does the fandom think this and why does the fandom think that? Because if you go in order correctly, a lot of the memes and the tropes end up, well, not the tropes, but the memes end up kind of not making sense, and you realize, wait, did you guys watch Dragon Ball? But if you go in order, you get the whole story, and that's the way it was meant to be seen anyways. So
yeah, definitely. And yeah, we got the tournament arc this episode. That's episodes 14 to 28. And I just want to let you know for next week, we're going to be covering the Red Ribbon Army Saga, which is episodes 29 to 45, or for manga readers, chapters 54 to 69.
You're covering the Red Ribbon. You're splitting it up, though, right? Because you're doing Red Ribbon, then General Blue, which is still part of Red Ribbon, right?
Yeah. So pretty much I'm going off like whatever the wiki says are the sagas. That's what we're using here.
Yeah, they changed those around a lot because Funimation has like their version of what the sagas are. Then you got the fans version, you got the Toei version. Because like the Red Ribbon Army arc is the whole thing all the way until the Baba part. So, but they split it off into different like mini sagas. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. We're covering the mini sagas. Yeah,
I'm actually curious about what Ray is gonna think about those episodes because there is a crossover with another Toriyama manga. And I've always thought that people who are unfamiliar with Slump are going to watch, even like when Dragon Ball Arrow and Toonami, I feel like they're so confused. They are so confused. Same thing with the Super episode from a couple of years ago that had the Slump crossover again. I cannot imagine, because that's not made for people outside of Japan. Like if you don't live in Japan or if you don't have access to Slump, you're not going to know what's going on. And I just wonder what's going to happen with Ray.
I kind of thought of that same thing and stuff whenever I was listening to the first episode that you guys recorded, because you touched on the fact that this first Dragon Ball series is a lot more comedic in tone than Z is at a lot of times, and that's partially because when he started out, he was focusing a lot more on comedy because his previous manga, Dr. Slump, had been a comedy manga. It was a gag manga, so there is a part later on where he kind of crosses the two, and I don't know. I think let's see if Ray even like notices when that happens, because there's so many bizarre things in Dragon Ball. Like he was pointing out, there's dinosaurs, there's future technology. Like it might not be like as bizarre or out of place as like you're making it seem. Like I don't know if you'd even realize when there is a crossover. Like I feel like it's, if I remember correctly, I feel like it was placed in there pretty well for people that were unfamiliar with it. But
yeah, it was like 3 episodes, but it's just funny to me because the characters, I mean, he's not going to have a clue. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It might actually get him to go watch Slump because I have been watching Slump, and it really is funny. I mean, it's completely different from Dragon Ball. I do want to go back to what you said a minute ago about like how it's comedic. The first arc of Dragon Ball, like what they've already watched, which is like the Pilaf saga. Yeah, that's totally gag. And then you'll notice in Dragon Ball, there's at least 2 tonal shifts. And as you go on and on, it gets more and more and more serious. That's what I like about it, is that it starts off being just a big joke and then more serious, more serious, more serious. Yeah,
it's one of those things where we're the only ones that actually like, or over here in the West, we're the only ones that actually divided up into Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. Like it's all just Goku's story, and it's it progresses over time.
Ray,
like,
what are some standout moments for you so far?
It's interesting because Ray's doing it right. Because I feel like if you start with Z, you're gonna think that Dragon Ball is this superhero show, when it's really not. It's really a parody of Dragon Ball in many ways. If you like Jackie Chan, that's what Dragon Ball is. It's more comedic martial arts. But when you get to the tournament arcs, like what we're talking about now, the 21st tournament, which is the one that you guys are reviewing on this episode, that is basically Drunken Master. If you ever seen Drunken Master, it's the same. Like, dude, Toriyama jacked it completely. And then for the 22nd Budokai, it's more like the Karate Kid, where you've got school versus school, and I love that.
I'm so excited for that. I love Karate Kid.
Oh my god, I love it.
Ray,
I even
speaking
love
of this
Cobra
first
Kai.
tournament, I am curious on what you thought of a lot of the fights in the first tournament, as someone who's like never, watched much Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Ray, chime in.
Yeah, so I mentioned before I watched a little bit of Dragon Ball Z, and I got some of that vibe from the Dragon Ball Z episodes in some of these fights. But then again, you talked about those comedic elements in the first arc, and those kind of carried over. Like I'm thinking of the Beast who was fighting Krillin.
Bacterian.
Oh
my god, what a legend!
And oh my god, who's the one who was fighting Nam, the girl?
Ran fan?
Ran fan. Yeah. Like her special technique, like so many of these things, you saw the comedic elements from the first arc. I'm thinking even when they were training and doing those obscure exercises, and then the master, I quoted it, what he called it, the Master Roshi, oh my goodness, where is it? Sorry. Master Roshi Turtle Hermit Fighting Armor, which is the lingerie. Yeah, the lingerie. So a lot of that, those comedic elements definitely carried over. But I did notice a lot more serious tones, especially as we progressed with the Master Roshi fight. And you saw there was that instance where people were like, oh, is Goku going to die? So, yeah, there was that shift in tone I noticed in some parts.
It's crazy how close they are to each other.
Later.
What did you think? Like, this is just like a personal question, because like this was one of the moments that like always stood out to me over the years, especially whenever you compare it to later on, where everybody's just expected to move fast later on. But like in this first tournament and stuff, and the fight against Krillin and Roshi, what did you think about how quickly they were moving, like how fast they were?
In terms of how fast,
like they like stopped and did rock paper scissors. And,
had this conversation.
They had to like stop and explain it to the crowd.
Exactly, the instant replay where they're almost like they're stopping and they're telling each other what the exact moves are. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, and even Goku's rock paper scissors move is pretty funny. Right. But no, for sure. I mean, there were definitely some comedic elements. I had that one down in terms of stopping the fight and Master Roshi and Krillin explaining it. But yeah, for sure. What were your? I'm curious. Like, maybe we could go around favorites, like fight scene or favorite.
I'll start off. I think it was hilarious when Bacterian just stuck his hand right into his dirty pants, and then went to actually hit Krillin with the move, and then eventually Krillin just beats him, but farts on his face as well. So he just beats him in like smelliness as well as physically in the actual.
That's right. I love it.
And the moon being destroyed. That was freaking amazing.
And Goku's like, Krillin, you don't even have a nose. And then he's like, oh man,
that's total slump humor, by the way. That's Dr. Slump to a degree right there. Totally. Like Toriyama back to his roots again.
His own character design.
Yeah, it's amazing how they're pulling it off at the same time. Like that kind of level of humor, like I don't have a nose, to like Goku being dead, like what's going on? Everyone's crying, emotional music. Like, yeah, it's crazy how much they did in one arc.
And I'll tell you this, back to the slump thing. 'Cause the reason why I'm bringing up slump is because early Dragon Ball's like slump. Toriyama's comedy is like brilliant in Slump, dude. So there's an episode of Slump, episode 2 of the Slump anime, right? I'll tell you real quick a funny little thing if you've never seen it before. Basically, the entire episode is Arale, who is the robot girl. And just to explain a little bit of context, first episode, Senbei Norimaki, who's a scientist, creates Arale as a robot, and the whole series is this sort of fish out of water story where Arale's trying to figure out the world because she's a robot. And so in the episode, she tells Senbei, I'm missing something in my body. And Senbei assumes she's talking about a vagina. And comedy ensues because in this episode, he's freaking out because even though he's a 30-year-old man, he's never seen one before. And so he creates these X-ray glasses, right? And the whole episode is him trying to see one. And he's you think Roshi's perverted. And so he's going to the park and he ends up seeing like 2 like naked guys and he freaks out. It's just really, really funny stuff. And then at the end of the episode, the big twist is that Arale actually wanted a belly button. And he's like, a belly button? It's just brilliant, dude. I'm giving away the joke, but when you watch it, it's just it's great. And I think the Krillen you don't have a nose thing kind of reminds me of that, that style where Toriyama sets it up for a while and then it's very fourth wall breaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and Danny, I was telling Ray last episode how a lot of the shonen tropes we'll see later on, you can date back to Dragon Ball. And we saw a lot of stuff that like you'd see in Naruto and like other anime with the
pervy old man.
Yeah, pervy old man, the shell that's like super heavy, and then you take it off and you're super quick, right? Adding weight to yourself.
Speaking of which, like I'm kind of curious on Ray's opinions on how some of the humor comes across in 2020 because like it has aged a little bit. Like, what do you think of like things like Krillen just straight up giving porn to Master Roshi to bribe him and things like that? Like
that was hilarious. Yeah, I know, and I'm pretty sure when he did that, like he knew how to feed. He knew to get what he wanted. Like he's like, yeah, we're gonna feed this man's ego to get what we want.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's one of those things where you guys mentioned a couple times in the first episode how it's a kids show and like it kind of was marketed that way over here, but like in Japan it was never marketed as a kids show. It was
that's why I'd ask.
Just another anime.
Well, it was just shonen, which is boring.
It was a shonen anime. So it was like a teenage audience, but it wasn't like.
But everyone can enjoy it.
It could be it could be boys or teenagers or young adults. It's basically for boys. That's what shonen pretty much means. Yeah. So it's even though girls watch it too, but
yeah, and older people too. That's not the point, but yeah, like definitely the shonen aspect of it. You wouldn't usually see here for 12-year-olds like those kinds of jokes, right?
Yeah, or like literally just how pervy Master Roshi can get. Like, oh man.
But like, it's fun in today's climate. Like, it's pretty refreshing.
Even Oolong, like, it continued in the last arc. Like, I think when he tries to boost Bulma up, he's looking under her skirt, and like, I think she falls down, and like the whole audience, which is a bunch of guys, they're looking at her. So yeah, that sexualization of Bulma continues in this arc. Not as frequently, I think, because she's not in it as much, but yeah, we continue seeing that.
It's even funny, Ray, how you use the term sexualization, because like I don't even think we've ever used the term sexualization talking like anime fans. We're like fan service.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny that like, I guess how to say it.
Yeah, Ray brings in like a very I guess official words kind of definitions.
We're also desensitized to all this stuff.
I know this is normal, bro.
This is nothing, man. Like,
oh yeah,
the next in the Red Ribbon arc, Bulma. I'm not Bulma. I'm sorry. Well, she does, but there's a lot of homophobic jokes in that just don't work anymore in this climate. Like General Blue, and there's like I mentioned, Slump. Also, there's children smoking cigarettes and just things that just this stuff will never air on television uncensored, which is actually what I wanted to talk about real quick here was the whole dub thing. Okay,
yeah, perfect.
I talked to AnimeUproar about this earlier, Gozen, yesterday. Yeah. So I know you've chosen to watch it dubbed, but I would highly advise that you switch over to the Japanese version. I'll tell you why. The English dub is extremely censored, and there's actually even more perviness and more wackiness in the Japanese version. And the other problem with the English dub, and I've talked about this before, and I just want to make it clear to everybody, because a lot of people have nostalgia for the English dub, especially for Dragon Ball Z. To hell with your nostalgia, okay? I have interviewed every major voice actor who has done Dragon Ball. Everybody from Sabat to Schemmel to Eric Vale. I just interviewed Tiffany Vollmer. I've interviewed all of them, every single one. And they all say the same thing, that they wish they would have had an uncensored script. Because what happened was in the 90s and in the early 2000s, when they were doing this, Barry Watson, the producer at Funimation, they were very cognizant of, the soccer moms, and they had to censor the show for the Toonami version. Now, what they do nowadays with anime is they have two different versions. They'll have like the TV version, they'll have like the home video version. But that's mostly for like the mainstream anime. Like shows like My Hero don't really get that treatment because they're not that, pervy. But these kind of shows do. That ones that air on television. So the reason why I'm recommending you switch over to Japanese is because there's not only is there more humor, but also there's a couple of major plot points that, well, not a couple, there's actually many, especially with Dragon Ball Z, plot points that have been changed. And you'll have people complaining about, the biggest complaint I hear from dub fans is that Goku sounds like a girl. That's the biggest complaint. Goku is voiced by a woman, Masako Nozawa, and if you watch it in Japanese from beginning to end, starting with Dragon Ball, by the time you get to Z, where Goku's already grown up, her voice is so ingrained in your skull that nobody else can properly voice her. Plus, the part of the series where Goku does grow up, where he goes from kid to adult, she does change her voice. She does get deeper. And so Goku's voice being kind of, high-pitched in Z makes more sense if you watch Dragon Ball. But the big thing also is the music censorship. For example, and we're talking about this tournament right now, the fight with Goku and Roshi is so much more intense in the Japanese version because there's a song that was edited out of the dub. Now, just to clarify, this is not Funimation's fault. This is Toei Animation and Sony Japanese Music Group putting the kibosh on it. But if you switch over to Japanese, you can hear it, but not for the dub. During the big climax of Goku and Roshi, where they're both bloody and sweaty and fighting, there's a song called Mezase Tenkaichi that plays that is absolutely beautiful. It's like a Rocky montage as they're going at it.
That was great. I heard it. I watched the sub, like you said, for that episode, and it was amazing.
Number one, number one, number one. It's an amazing song. And they play it again later on in future tournaments. And these are things that you only get in the Japanese version. Plus, a lot of the script, and this is my biggest gripe, if I'm being honest with you. A lot of the script changes are very bad because they change contextual, lots of context. For example, and you've already watched this, the episode where Goku meets Chi-Chi. In the dub, the lines don't match up to the Japanese, and there's a scene where Chi-Chi says, "Do you want to marry me?" And Goku says, "Sure," because Goku assumes that marriage is food. That ends up coming into play at the end of Dragon Ball. Literally in like 100 episodes, that gets a payoff, 150 episodes. So Toriyama sets these things up early, and pays them off like years later. This is back when he actually was at his peak as far as a writer goes. The dub took the context out of that. So later on, when the whole "do you want to marry me" thing comes up again, it doesn't make sense for the dub. And I feel like the dub has caused a lot of problems with fans understanding the series, understanding Goku's character. And I'm very much I despise what the dub has done to Dragon Ball. I really do.
I would like to respectfully disagree and present a counter argument.
Go for it.
You can't the script changes, bro. Those are there.
I know. You seem like you're very, very hardcore towards the sub against the dub, and I get why. Like you said, the script changes and all that are definitely there.
That's the issue.
There's a little bit of censorship, and that is a little bit of an issue. But I think if you're wanting to do a deep dive into the series and get everything 100% accurate on certain things, then yeah, it can be a little bit of an issue. But this isn't just his first time watching Dragon Ball. This is his first anime. So if he, I think the most important thing we should focus on is just the enjoyment of it. And I don't know, the dub does a good job of capturing a lot of the enjoyment of it. And there's, especially once you get to Z, the voices change, whereas it's more consistent throughout the sub. But I like the voice changes once you get to Z and like the final Funimation dub that they have for both series. I think it's done really, really well. A lot of the voices from Master Roshi to Goku, and I think they're done really well in the dub. So I mean, it depends.
The voices are the same in Z though. It's the same actors.
Yeah, but like people say superhero Goku for dub.
I see what you mean. Yeah, but
it sounds like way different than it does as a kid. Whereas it's the same voice actress in the sub, and people like that consistency sometimes. But
I see what you mean. But superhero Goku's not Goku. That's the problem. That's the
thing. I don't know. Maybe it's part of the nostalgia that I grew up with it and stuff, and it's hard to say.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of it,
man. I remember what I said. To hell with
I know. But like to hell with just having to look at it through a microscope, like right now. Whereas
I think
but you're both making look at it as somebody that's never watched anime before. So it kind of all comes down to Ray. Like, does he want to make that transition?
Yeah, and I asked Ray to watch the last 2 episodes in both dub and sub. Ray, did you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So what was your thoughts comparing them?
I found, firstly, with the sub version, you had some of the language was a little bit more. How should I put it? Like they'd say, like, "Damn it!" Like I think Master Roshi would call Goku like certain names that weren't mentioned within the actual dub version. I know one thing, and maybe you could you'd know a lot more than this, but than me than this. In terms of any significant changes between the two, I think what I picked up on was that with Krillen, when Krillen notices that he goes back into a boy, Yamcha mentions to Krillen that the reason why he transformed is because of the moon. This is in the sub version. I don't think he does so in the dub version, and I think he's like more confused. Like, how did you do that to Goku? And Goku's like still confused. So I don't know if there's any sort of subtle things like that which come back later on that are really important.
There's not only subtle things, there's major story points, especially in Z. Dragon Ball Z dubbed is butchered. I mean, I'll argue that until I die. It's completely butchered. Superhero Goku is not Goku. That's number one. That's not the right character of Goku. He's not Captain America. Okay, he's just not.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, like, the voices are fine. The issue is not really the voices. I don't have an issue with the voices anyways. The issue is the script. That's really what it comes down to, is the script. Yeah. And like, if you want to keep watching it dubbed, I would at least recommend switching over to sub for certain episodes and certain moments, so you can kind of view the differences. Not just because of like the music stuff, but like there are a lot of, when you get to Z, it's much worse. Like the Dragon Ball Z dub changes and alters the story so much, and it really does, and it's confused so many people because at the time when they were making it, they decided to get cute and they had no idea what they were doing. For example, there's lines in the Dragon Ball Z dub that create plot holes for Dragon Ball, right? Because when they were doing Z, they'd never watched Dragon Ball, talking about Funimation, like Barry Watson and Chris Sabat. They had no idea. So there's certain lines in Z that contradict what happens in Dragon Ball because they had no idea what they were even doing. They had no clue. And they've admitted that. Like, Sabat has admitted that on an interview I did with him 4 years ago. Like, they've admitted they had no clue what they were talking about, so they just made stuff up. And to me, like, it's just not, it's not a good dub, dude. Like, I to this day, I'm flabbergasted that so many people think that Dragon Ball Z has a good dub. It's horrible. I mean, it's atrocious. Like, no other anime can get away with, dude, episode 1 of DBZ has 47 dub changes. 47. Like, no other anime in this era could get away with that without the fans raising their pitchforks and clamoring for the sub. But somehow, because of nostalgia, the DBZ dub gets away with it.
I don't think it's necessarily just nostalgia. Like, it's the acting itself is done really well, even if the script changes might be something that you have an issue
You'll
with.
have fun either way. That's kind of the point. But the authenticity, if you're after authenticity, I definitely agree.
No, you're right. No, I want that. You will have fun. It's a great show no matter what language you're watching. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
That's what my biggest argument is, just the fact that like, it's hard for me to relate because I've somebody that's watched subbed and dubbed my whole life. I've watched it my whole life. But whenever I'm trying to look at it from like I said, it all does come down to Ray. When I'm trying to look at it as somebody that's never watched anime before ever, one, switch midway through, and that might tamper with enjoyment of it. And then two, it's watching subs for the first time ever. I don't know. Sometimes like that's not how people want to watch their very first anime and stuff. And I don't think enjoyment wise, I don't think there's nearly as many issues with the way the acting comes across as you make it sound. As a hardcore fan that maybe has analyzed it, it's easy to pick out intricacies here and there that might be issues with scripts or plots or anything. But that's whenever you've kind of deep dived into it, and there's no saying you can't go back and watch it subbed later.
Yeah, and we'll leave it for Ray to decide.
Yeah.
I will say that you're not wrong. I do think that if it's your first time watching anime and you don't watch subs often, it can be a little jarring. And also, no argument there. I am in no way arguing that because I grew up. I still watch dubs first for most anime. What happened with me was, and I'll just tell you real quick, is I was watching Dragon Ball when I was a kid. And those of you who were around during the Toonami era, you know what I'm talking about. They wouldn't show every episode. They would stop at certain parts and we'd go back to Raditz. And so I'm over here trying to see what happens after. So the only way to see what happens after like the later episodes is to watch it in Japanese. So I got to watch it in Japanese. And then what I would do is, because I watch the dub all the time, right? Is when I got my hands on Japanese versions that I had already seen dubbed, I'm like, whoa, this is not what they said. Wait a minute. So Bardock's, or sorry, Goku's. I don't want to spoil it. I was about to spoil it. I'm gonna stop.
It is hard to
I stopped myself. But you know, the brilliant scientist line and all this stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is wrong. And then I had a buddy of mine a few years ago, actually, and I didn't do this, but he went in and watched it dubbed and wrote a whole like Word document, which I gotta actually get from him, see if he still has it, where he wrote every dub change. And like with Z specifically, there's like 47, 32, like every episode has like dozens and dozens of dub changes. And that's not good. Now, later on with Kai, there's way less because they focus more on accuracy. But I agree that if it's your first time, it all depends on whether or not you're okay with subs. Because nowadays, when I watch like a foreign film, I usually watch it subbed first just in case. And I will tell you this is something I should be aware of too. In the sub, the translator's name is Steve Simmons. He was a Dragon Ball fan back in the 90s, huge historian. This guy knows his stuff. Even the subs are slightly censored. Now I'll explain what I mean by that. Whenever you hear a character say kuso, or kusotare, kuso, they subtitle it as damn it. But that's not what kuso means.
It's like shit.
Yes, correct. That's what it means. So there are moments in this show, Dragon Ball and Z, where the villains are like, shit. And like, it's, when you hear it and you kind of know that what that means, it's like, wow, like they're really pushing it. But no, you're not wrong. Like I said, I'm not arguing the whole like anime fan thing. It's just that with Dragon Ball specifically, not other shows.
I get your concerns. There's no need to like I said, you've done a good job justifying of where somebody would.
Ray knows where he stands now and what the situation is.
Right. At the very least, like for the important episodes, I would probably do a sub view or do the trick where you watch it dub with the subs turned on just so you can compare and contrast the two. I mean, if you do that for one episode of Z, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. So that's why I would recommend the sub. Plus, like I said, the music, like the songs, the insert songs are beautiful. And that's not Funimation's fault. But, you know.
I get where you're coming from. That's what, like, my two main things, Ray, all I was saying was, I think first and foremost, you need to focus just on enjoying yourself. So it all kind of depends on you and which way you want to watch it. Had we had this conversation, if this wasn't your very first anime and it was your first time watching Dragon Ball and you were used to subs, I'd probably be with Geekdom. Right. You know, it might as well watch it that way. And then if you want to rewatch it in dub, you can. But
thank you. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I just want to thank Hookie Wookie for all those gifted subs. And Ray, so keep in mind I'll also be watching the sub now because Geekdom101 has, like Danny has pointed out, some like things I can't ignore for people. Like I feel like I can give more value to people if I watch the sub. But
Gozen.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
If the dub didn't do what it did, there would be so many less memes out there. All right?
Oh no, that's true, and that's
over 9,000.
Yes. And I'm down with Ray watching the dub because it's like I can watch the sub and we can talk about the differences, and that could be a thing in and of itself.
No, that's a good idea. That's a great idea to do it that way, actually, because if you've already seen it dubbed, Gozen, then it's just a great experience, because then by the time you get to Z, because I can't stand the whole like Goku sounds like a girl complaint, because again, if you watch the entire series start to finish in Japanese, you won't even care, like you won't even notice. Whereas I think that comes from people who watch Z and then went to watch it in Japanese and were like confused. And, it's annoying to me, honestly, because it shows disrespect to Nozawa, who was handpicked by Toriyama himself. I mean, he picked her to play that character. And she's also the first voice actress in the history of Japanese anime to voice a character from childhood to adulthood, because usually what they do is they do change the actors over. That's usually what they do. And then later on, other shonen protagonists got the same treatment because of Nozawa. So she's definitely a trendsetter, and that was a big deal. For those who don't know, in Japan, when it comes to shonen anime or shonen manga, they highly encourage you not to age the characters, right? That's something that's talked about. That's why you have a lot of 14-year-old protagonists, and you have people who are stuck in the same age for years and years and years. And it's funny because if you focus on like how Dragon Ball does things, Toriyama was very smart, because when Goku ages, he introduces a new young kid to be like the secondary main character. And then when he ages, there's more kids being introduced, in the Buu arc. And then in GT, well, you know what happens to so-and-so and a kid. So you see, you notice that pattern of, we got to keep a kid at least as maybe not the main character, but right in there, like, the second or third main character. And that's why it's a Japanese thing. There's so many things about this show, so many intricacies that I love, like stuff like that, for example.
Oh, no, I agree. One thing you realize, right? Like, it might be a little bit different for us since we grew up with the show. But like, as you go, Goku's going to grow up with you, and just watching that journey is amazing. Yeah. I'm hoping you enjoy it. Just watching.
No, it's great. And you'll also notice, the thing about Goku that I love is he's always learning new things and new lessons about life in every arc, including in Z, including in Super. I can't stand when fans say that Goku has no arc. No, he does have an arc. Now, obviously in Z, there's other characters that have better arcs, like Vegeta, of course. I'll say it, that's fine. Everybody knows Vegeta. But Goku still has growth. And based on events that happen to him, tragedies, health issues at one point, it makes him grow as a character. I'm really tired of people talking shit about Dragon Ball, bro, because I will defend it forever. Yeah, there might be better written shows, like Yu Yu Hakusho might be better written, Cowboy Bebop's legendary, but Dragon Ball is so good. It's great.
It's one of those that's easier to hate on in hindsight than it is whenever you're actually watching it. Because anytime you actually go back to watch it, it's just so much fun.
There's actually great lessons there. It's not just fun. It's like Master Roshi, what he's teaching them is super 100%. Important. It's like, don't be okay with just being like the best in your league. There are better people out there. You can always improve. Like, all of those lessons are very important life lessons.
Not only that, the training gets you hyped. He teaches them that, like, you got to train hard, but then you got to rest hard.
That's the thing, the training too. I'm wondering what did you think of the training? Like, I love it. I love the training arc.
It was good, yeah. It was going back to the motivational thing. I know one thing he told them that stuck to me was, which at the time I'm like, I didn't know who Master Roshi himself was going to enter the tournament. He's like, fight just to progress, not to win. And I'm like, yeah, that's great advice for life. But yeah, I'm wondering if, for example, he said that because he knew he was going to enter it and possibly beat him.
No, he did. Yeah,
exactly. He's softening the blow there. But no, I thought it was great. I thought it was. I know we mentioned the Karate Kid before. It had at times the Karate Kid type element in terms of like doing these tasks, which were like, it didn't seem like they were martial arts, but they were actually making them stronger, strong-willed. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of. I loved the delivering milk. I thought that was quite funny.
Wait till see. That's funny. You mentioned Karate Kid. Wait till you get to the 20-second Budokai. See, I have a smile on my face right now because you're a virgin. Because I'm telling you, if you like Cobra Kai and the Karate Kids, I love those. So I grew up with those movies. The 20-second Budokai is. Oh, it's so good. Like, it's so good. I'm telling you. And then by the time you get to the 23rd Budokai at the end of the series, everything that you've seen all culminates. Like, it all wraps up into that one final tournament, and it's so well done, and it's beautiful, man. You could have ended Dragon Ball there with no Z, even though it wouldn't be as popular. I feel like if Dragon Ball ended with just Dragon Ball and there was no Z, it would still be a great like beginning, middle, and end to the story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Danny, I was gonna ask, what do you prefer? Because I know a lot of people prefer Dragon Ball. Most people prefer Dragon Ball Z because they haven't seen Dragon Ball. What do you think is the better show?
I think Dragon Ball is the better show. Overall, it's written better. It's more consistently written. And I actually think the fight scenes in Dragon Ball are more grounded and a little bit more creative. However, Dragon Ball Z's highs are so high. It's like with Z, you're getting like these incredible moments that are unforgettable as the series progresses, and there's tons of them.
Yeah,
tons of them.
I can think of one right now on Amazon.
I can think of like 10 right now, bro. They're everywhere. But like, but like with Dragon Ball, I think it's a better story. I mean, I will say this. You're about to get into Red Ribbon. The beginning of that arc is very slow. It does start very slow, and then it picks up right around Muscle Tower. You'll know what that is when you get there. But if you're a fan of like Bruce Lee, if you've ever seen Game of Death, there's Game of Death. That's another thing about Dragon Ball is the more of a fan you are of movies, the more you'll love Dragon Ball, because Toriyama was a huge movie fan, still is. Toriyama still, and I'm talking about Japanese, like Eastern, Korean, Chinese films, as well as like American films. So you'll see reference to Terminator. There's a whole arc based on Terminator. That you'll see aliens. I'm not going to say where, but you'll see it actually multiple times. You'll see little Star Trek and Star Wars references. The dude, if you like movies, dude, one of the main villains of the Red Ribbon Army arc looks like identical to like the villains from James Bond. I mean, it's supposed to be straight up like a parody of that. And so the more of a fan you are of films, the more you appreciate Dragon Ball a lot more. You know what I mean?
That's very interesting. And Ray has been getting more and more into like old classic movies, so he'll probably appreciate that. Yeah,
no, it's great, dude. Like, and some of the stuff is kind of obscure. Like, for example, there's a member of the Red Ribbon Army who, he's a yellow. He flies this like yellow tiger plane, and it's based on like an old war movie called The Yellow Tiger. So Toriyama made him literally a yellow tiger. Like things like that, I always found amusing. There's more than that. I just don't want to spoil anything. I'm trying to be very vague. But yeah, Red Ribbon, it's better in the manga, if I'm being honest with you. It's faster paced. But once you get to Muscle Tower, things get really interesting.
Cool. Ray, what did you tell us your favorite fight?
Goku versus Roshi, bro. That's the best fight this tournament.
It is pretty amazing.
I feel like you can't beat that one, especially just drawing out a couple episodes. There's highs and lows. Like there's comedy. There's also seriousness when he has Goku, I think in his, I forget exactly what it's called, that lightning attack, and he's up in the air. I mean, definitely I think Roshi and Goku, but I mean, there were some other ones as well I liked. I'm thinking even like Goku and Nam, I like that one as well. So, but I think the last one definitely took the cake for me.
Yeah, I love how they were swimming through the air with the Goku and Nam thing.
Yeah.
So many jokes. Oh,
yeah.
And
I also love like the one thing I will tell you too about Dragon Ball and Z compared to like Super is the fights are so much better because the way Toriyama writes his fights, you have like a situation. You notice in the Goku versus Roshi fight, they do that again more later on, where one character will have a strategy and the other character will have like a counter to it. And so you'll have like Goku will try this and then Roshi will try this. And actually, I remember in the Japanese version, I remember Roshi uses the Drunken Master technique. So right there, it just tells you like Drunken Master. But like, I love how the fights in Dragon Ball and Z kind of have this whole like, can you top this thing? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And Super didn't really have that because Super didn't have an original manga to base it off of. Mm-hmm. But Toriyama like loves to like do that kind of stuff where it's like a chess match. More so in Dragon Ball than Z. But even in Z, you have that sort of feel where, you know, they're trying to top each other one move after the next, and then they increase their power, and it's a lot of fun, dude. I agree that no matter what language you're watching it in, you're gonna have a good time because the material speaks for itself.
One thing I kind of want to mention and ask Ray's opinion on and stuff, since you mentioned how it portrays like a lot of old movies and things of that nature as far as the fights go. Anyways, how did you feel, Ray, whenever you like they go to kind of learn the secret techniques, or whatever, of the turtle hermit fighting style, all this grand old thing that's supposedly passed down. And they go to learn it. He's like, well, you already know how to punch. You already know how to kick. Basically, the entire thing was just training as hard as you can. Did you feel like cheated, or did you feel like, oh, that kind of like lets them still be creative and fun with the fights? Or I don't know. Like, what were your thoughts on that? Like, just.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what I found maybe interesting tied to that is like within the fights themselves, they were doing things that, you know, you wouldn't consider it martial arts. Like I'm thinking of certain techniques they use. I'm like, what the hell is this? How is this? And then at the very end, when they hypnosis, at the very end when they finally do he blows up the moon with his Kamehameha. They were both out of gas. Like, okay, we finally have to use martial arts now. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. This is a martial arts tournament, and they use it at the very end. So,
it's great.
You know what? I did like. I don't know. I liked the idea of putting these very obscure tasks in. It was that Karate Kid-esque. It was like they were practicing discipline, and they were practicing just doing these things that didn't seem like they had direct consequences to making them better, but at this exact same time, they were making them more strong-willed and better fighters. And we saw what it did to Krillen. Like, Krillen was able to beat up that one guy who was bullying him from before like it was nothing. So it definitely worked well.
Oh, yeah.
Even Goku was like, we got to go easy on these guys. Like, that's how much the change was. I love that part. When you see how much they grew.
Going back to what Geekdom said about watching Goku grow, like, I just love the entire training arc, and I've gone to watch that thing again so many times because they learn discipline, they get humbled. There's obviously the training aspect, the series training, but then
what about launch? What about launch?
I am kind of curious what you think about launch, but what do you think, Gray?
It's kind of weird. They had her in there and then they kind of just dropped her. But this serious person at the beginning, this serious threat. And something else I just want to make note of. I know the last episode we talked about this. I asked, like, where are the police? It's funny how the very first episode there's police. So we have an understanding of like there are police in this society. And Goku is stronger.
Yeah, what the hell are they going to do?
Yeah. Exactly. They can't even tame launch. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. What I found funny about her was like, where the heck is she getting this gun? Like all of a sudden, every time she sneezes, like I think the one time she was sleeping and she went under her pillow and she had her. I'm like, where is it coming from? But yeah, she was fine. I mean, she was again like perfect for Master Roshi there in terms of feeding his ego, feeding his needs, I guess. But then, yeah, I just thought it was weird how when she transformed, all of a sudden she got this gun and how they were able to just like survive it every single time. But
the good thing we kind of went over the fact that Goku can survive that they can survive bullets.
Even
bullets
Krillen and Roshi like survived.
I know.
I'm pretty sure
they survived it, but otherwise Dragon Ball would have got real dark real quick. She just pumped them all full of lead, dude. Oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
There are so many moments that like I just want to ask Danny like what's going on. Like for example, the moon gets destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure it pops up again later. I have no idea how it does, but
they kind of explain it. In fact, I think they explain it either in Z or in late Dragon Ball, but they do explain what happens.
There is an explanation. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I just forget exactly when it was explained, but it is explained. Which, by the way, when you get to that part of the series, man, like the whole, I just don't want to talk about it because it's fascinating and because it's close to the end of the series. Like this whole Dragon Ball thing. It starts off very, very small. Like you've got Goku in this like in Mount Paozu or whatever, like this mountain living there with it looking for his grandpa. And then he goes to the city and then, which I think happens shortly. He goes to the city, he meets Roshi on the island and all that. So Dragon Ball is about Goku exploring the world, like the earth. And then it goes into, then Z, we get into space and the afterlife. And alternate dimensions. So, and then in Super, you've got multiple universes. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's why I like Dragon Ball, because it's just kind of Goku exploring the Earth, which has a lot. There's a lot there. But I do like the blowing up the moon thing, because a lot of people are always questioning how powerful Roshi is and how powerful Dragon Ball characters are. Well, guess what? They blew up the moon in like the first 20, it was like episode 25, 26 of Dragon Ball.
Just in case it was power scale.
Right. If Roshi can blow up the moon now, bro, you don't think that by the time we get to Z that Yamcha can't just destroy the Earth? Well, guess what? He can. And when you really think about it. So it's crazy. And like I said, the moon, you'll see. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah,
because the spoiler is kind of from a character that hasn't been introduced yet.
Yeah, I never really got too deep into the whole trying to power scale any of that or any of that. But going back to what you just said about like it just being him exploring the Earth, that's kind of where I was going before we brought up launch. I was going to ask, like, how much did you appreciate the fact that Goku was also being taught how to read and write and math and things like that by Roshi, and then also the fact that he couldn't tell the genders apart unless he touched them. Like that always cracked me up. Like I think back on that fondly from when I watched it as a kid. I'm like, wait, what? He didn't know Krillin was a guy? Like, I don't know. I love that like little naive side of Goku and stuff. Whenever you first see him in Dragon Ball, so
I mean, episode 2 of Dragon Ball is called "Oh my, no balls."
Yeah, didn't he realize? Yeah,
yeah, he realized that Bulma does not have testicles. I mean, I don't remember how the dub handled that because it's been years since I've seen it. But I know that he's patting her on the crotch. He's patting people on the crotch to see if they have testicles. Like you can't.
How do you pee?
You can't get away with that anymore, man. But who cares?
No way.
Well, that it doesn't hesitate to show him naked or anything. Like, I'm pretty sure.
What would you say?
I said it doesn't hesitate to show him naked or anything. Like Goku will just bend over, show his tail or whatever. Like,
yeah, Goku's little penis is like all over the
place.
Yeah, and then later on, other characters they do that, but they only show like. As weird as it may sound, bro, and kind of creepy when I say this, they only show like little kid penises. They never show like an adult penis.
Oh, yeah. It's not necessarily like as taboo over there as far as like kids will still take baths with their parents and stuff like that. Like it's more of a
to use Ray's term, it's not sexualized.
It's not sexualized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Completely agree. But notice how in the more recent Dragon Ball stuff, like in Dragon Ball Super Broly, now all of a sudden the Saiyans have underwear, so it's changed. But
it has
right. But it's still one of those things where it's. I'm only saying that because if Ray has never seen anime before,
that's probably a shot.
He might be wondering, like, wait a minute, why are they constantly showing like kid dick? Like this is weird. Like, you know what I mean? It would be weird if it was my first time.
I mean, what did you think of it,
Ray did bring that up, yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, it was weird. I mean, that was. Mentioned in the first episode, or the first arc, sorry, how, there were times where Goku was naked, and I'm trying to think, Bulma wasn't naked, but you see instances where, Yamcha goes in there and whips off the blanket and sees her naked. So, yeah, there's, it's a little shocking, and again, it kind of goes back to the idea of, like, this was released in the 80s. It's kind of weird how this was on the dubbed version on TV, I guess.
No, that wasn't on TV. No, yeah. So when they aired this they didn't air till the 2000s Dragon Ball dub, except for the original Ocean dub that was in '95. No, they actually what they would do is Barry Watson's like brother, I think it was his brother. They would actually go in, and this is kind of cool. I'm sure when you get to Z, we'll talk about this. They go in and they actually drew underwear on some of the characters. Like, so if you're watching, for example, the Tree of Might movie, there's a scene where they show Gohan's, wee-wee, and Barry Watson draws a leaf coming out of the ground. And it's only in the dub version, the TV version, because of that reason. Because the version you're watching is the uncut footage from like the Funimation / DVD, whatever. But the one that actually aired on Cartoon Network, they figured out ways of like, you know what I mean? Drawing over it, drawing underwear on Goku. And the crazy thing about that is they had to go frame by frame. So they had to draw the underwear every single frame. So I imagine that took them forever to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't always look the best. Like if you look at 4Kids One Piece version, like some terrible animations go into that.
That's what whenever Geekdom went off a little bit on how much he hates the dub towards the start and stuff. I'm like, man, if you want to talk about dub, you don't want people watching.
Yeah, exactly. 4Kids One Piece is by far like the worst one I've ever seen.
Look, I'm not even
unreal.
I'm not even saying Dragon Ball's the worst dub ever. I'm just saying it deserves better. And even the actors themselves wanted a better script.
Yeah,
I agree. Which is I'm glad Kai happened, but a lot of things.
So should we watch Kai? What do you two think?
Honestly, well, you go first, bro. You go ahead.
It depends. It's tough because like you want people to be able to experience it kind of how it happened, but at the same time, like I guess spoiler a little bit, sort of, kind of, but not really. I'm not going to go any specifics. Like the entirety of season 3 of Z is one fight. Like it's drawn out so freaking much that whenever I had my brother watch it, like he kind of had it fast forwarded a little bit, and he didn't miss much because like not fast forwarded, but like times 2 speed, and like he didn't miss much because it's so many silent shots.
It drag on.
It drags. So. Yes. So I don't know.
The high versions of that particular fight you're thinking of are a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I feel like still though with Z, it is like the original way it aired, and also there is filler, but there's actually good filler in the Saiyan arc specifically. There's fantastic filler there that adds layers to the characters. So I'm gonna
agree with that a lot. So I don't. That's why it's tough to say. I don't know.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, Kai has a better dub, unquestionably. But also, I don't like some of the decisions that Kai made as far as like speeding up the fights. Granted, yes, that fight you're talking about should have been sped up, but there's other fights that were like edited wonky. So
I watched all the way through Kai, so I don't know all the specifics. I just know it's like not apparently not as drawn out. So that's all I know. But
right,
I recommend one way or the other. But
yeah, it's difficult because also the music has changed, and there's 2 different soundtracks for Kai because of the Yamamoto, Kenji Yamamoto plagiarism scandal. So it's a nightmare. With Z, if you're going to be watching it, Z has the same composer all the way through, which is Shinsuke Kikuchi. So you're gonna hear songs and themes from Dragon Ball kind of go into Z and whatnot. If you're gonna be watching it like dub with the Japanese music, if you're dub with the dub music, which is the Bruce Faulkner score and the Nathan Johnson score, that's a whole different thing. But I'm assuming you're not gonna be doing that. And I'm not even sure if Funimation even has those on their thing. But yeah, I'm going to say Z, honestly, because later on and at some point in the future, you can always try Kai. But I'm gonna go with Z.
I think I agree. It's tough.
And we could compare them too eventually. So yeah, we'll see. But definitely, I feel like the Garlic Jr. arc and stuff was actually like fun.
You know what? Like the beginning and end of that arc is great. The middle is the part that sucks.
Yeah.
But beginning and end, I think, are pretty good.
Yeah, that, and I think like you said, the Saiyan Saga had some important filler, and the filler in Dragon Ball Z is done pretty well. But I don't know. I just didn't want to answer too quickly because I don't know how much of that is like my nostalgia talking and stuff. Because
and of course there's Dragon, Rock the Dragon, which we don't want to miss.
100%. You don't want to miss that. No.
Well, you at least want to watch that intro. Like you at least want to watch, even if you're watching a sub, you just want to watch it because when you watch that intro, you're like, man,
it gets you hyped.
But it's also so 90s. Like it's such a 90s thing, like Dragon Ball Z, like the way it was produced was so 90s. Like anime nowadays never does that kind of stuff. Like new shows don't ever get rock replacement scores and things like that. You never see that,
Very seldom.
Same thing with like Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Like that's got its own soundtrack, and it's very, 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 very seldom. So it just feels, I don't know, I don't want to say dated, but it's definitely a product of its time.
All I know is it gets you hyped.
It does.
Especially for the fights and whatnot. So
I do like that song. I actually like that Dragon song. Like there's a few, look, as much as I trashed the dub earlier, there's a few lines in the dub that I think are pretty hilarious. So I don't totally hate it. It's just the story content is really my thing. Other than that, the line is not really the issue.
And I know what you mean. Like
for the memes.
Yeah, sometimes in the One Piece, like I went hardcore to look at the differences between like the 4Kids one and the manga. And yeah, like those stuff you bring up about foreshadowing stuff that has significance later on, like many arcs on. One Piece does that huge, and you literally get like a situation where this arc doesn't make sense because you left out that detail.
One thing,
it's crazy.
One thing I'm kind of guilty of that, like, I mean, maybe I don't know how exactly you're watching it, so maybe it's just a suggestion. One thing I've been guilty of doing in the past and stuff is I'll watch something dubbed, but then I'll still have the subtitles on, just so I can kind of see in real time what the differences would be.
Yeah, that's a good move. Sam the Gunman, thank you so much for the gifted subs. That's awesome. Ray, what I wanted to bring up, like, does Jackie Chun or AKA Master Roshi straight up read minds? Like, you know how he like kind of looks into his backstory? Like, what's happening there?
It's kind of crazy, the fact that we never really see Jackie Chun again, dude. He was such a good fighter.
No, we do see him again.
Oh wait, I mean not like past not into Z though.
No, not into Z, not into Z. But we do see him one more. Yeah, I don't want to say where, but yeah. But you're right. In Z, like
he would have one-shotted probably so many Z villains, dude. Jackie Chun was legendary.
He is. He's the GOAT.
No, and I love the fact that Goku can't figure out who it is. And the whole lesson there was,
do you know who it is?
How strong you think you are, there might be somebody out there stronger, which plays up over and over throughout Goku's life.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's what Dragon Ball's about. And
I love the fact that the entire training arc with Roshi and stuff, he did so many good things, like not only teaching him, the little things like math and writing and stuff, but he taught him freaking discipline, and he taught him to be humble. And that, like, the fact that he went to that extremity to keep him humble, like, he didn't want him winning the tournament.
The amount of effort that went into that.
He went all out and stuff just to make sure that Goku knows, hey, there's always someone stronger out there. Like, don't.
And as pervy as he is, he has a heart of gold. Like, did you see how he just spent all that money on the food afterwards?
I don't know if that was, I don't know if he knew that was gonna happen.
No, he didn't. But like, he just accepted it. I think he's like a really good sensei. And also, you have the situation, the most heartfelt moment, hands down, when he told him that his grandpa did the same training and never complained, and Goku just went and did it.
Yeah, that was so.
I want to ask Ray also, what about the fact that in a lot of these shows and movies, the predictable finish is that Goku wins the tournament, and here he did not win. And I always loved the fact that he came close, but he couldn't quite get it done. And I always loved that they didn't give you the predictable, Goku wins the main character. It didn't happen here.
Yeah, here's my opinion on that. I actually thought Goku was going to lose, but in my opinion, I'm looking at, you're talking about power levels, and Master Roshi used his power to blow up the moon. I feel like if he doesn't do that, he wins the fight. So I don't know. I don't know if it was as close as they made it out to be because of the.
Well, remember, Roshi has longer legs. That's really what happened.
That is true. At the end, he wins it because of the longer legs. But
longer legs, yeah.
I don't know. I saw Goku not possibly winning it, and that's what happened. I didn't see though. I guess when the standings went out and Yamcha was going to fight Roshi, that I saw him losing. But I thought some people would get further, but I don't know. I didn't see possibly that's necessarily that predictable outcome, like you said.
Yamcha has a very specific role in these tournaments and later in the series. So this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and from what I understand from our last episode, it seems like, I know I listened to part of like a Rant Cafe episode. Yamcha is considered one of the most useless characters in anime.
Don't you dare say that.
He's not useless. He has a role. It's just he's not. His role is to make other people look good. How about that?
Yamcha's great. All right, he's one of the strongest people on Earth.
He is great.
Is there an echo now? Or
I'm sorry, are you echoing?
I thought it was for a little bit. Okay, I'm good now. So I grew up playing so many different Dragon Ball Z games and stuff that the story, and every single one I would use Yamcha all the time.
No way. The Wolfang Fist?
Oh, dude,
no way. That's the most useless move, man.
It is, but it's so cool. I mean, Krillen's my favorite, but Yamcha's Full Fang Fist, you gotta use it.
Destructo Disc in those games was always super fun.
Oh, too overpowered, dude. But,
he's awesome.
That's a whole nother thing. Like my childhood was not only the Dragon Ball Z anime and also even Dragon Ball GT, which I thought like Super Saiyan 4 was amazing. But I also really liked like the video games. Like they were my favorite video games of all time.
I saw a meme the other day. I forget who it was that posted it and stuff, but they were like back in 2005 when you were looking up pictures of leaks for Super Saiyan 12 or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I remember that Super Saiyan 5 image,
bro. That was like in the late 90s. We were doing that like in the 90s, man. On like,
I mean, I was born in '95, so I was doing that like as early on as I could remember. Like I don't remember how old I was, so I was like, oh my god, that's like a little naive me was like, oh, that's so cool.
Well, back then, before we had like the later episodes, Dragon Ball GT was like this mythical thing. Like in the 90s, before GT got dubbed and before it got like bootlegged, like what is this GT? Like what? It's after Z, and you're like you're over here in your head creating all these cool ideas of what could happen, and then you see it, and it's like it could have been better. But it's just funny how when we're kids, it's like this that whole like aura of mystery where you don't know what's going to happen. You can't put that genie back in the bottle, and that's why I'm very excited for Ray, because
you can, right?
Has that
for sure. Maybe someone would know the answer to this, but I was thinking about this the other day. I only had two systems growing up. I had a Game Boy Color and I had a Super Nintendo. That's all I had. I played a Dragon Ball Z game on one of those. Does one exist on either of those?
On the Game Boy?
One exist.
Game Boy?
Legacy I think many do.
Legacy of Goku 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the GT one. Yeah, they're on there. It's a great game.
I played all the Legacy of Goku games a ton as a kid. Those were great.
They're good.
Yeah, I was probably playing as these characters. I had no idea who they were.
And then for Super Nintendo, we didn't get any outside of Japan, but there are several Super Famicom Dragon Ball Z games that I think some of them are pretty good. There's actually a couple of RPGs, 3 RPGs, and then 4 3 RPGs and then 4 fighting games. And I think, they're not like as great as the Budokai games, forget it. But they're still pretty fun for what they were. I wouldn't pay $70 for them, but they were fun for their day.
For sure.
Not to mention that Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 2 has this really awesome storyline, like that's only in that game, involving like clones and things like that. That they kind of copied it for fighters. Actually, it's like the same thing. So they have cool stuff like that back in the day, that I personally like that stuff. I like to have original storyline for the games.
One thing I loved was I don't know if you ever played Budokai 3.
Yeah,
because it was
that's my favorite.
Every you could play through with every character, and they all had like their own kind of original stories where they were the main character-ish like type thing. To where if you wanted to play as Yamcha, you wanted to make him relevant. Damn it, you could do it.
And you could disappear behind the other character. I love that.
Yeah. Oh man, that was like my favorite one. I didn't play very many after that.
We might have to if we could figure it out. Stream that at some point.
Oh, that would be dope.
Ray, anything else that like really stood out for you in this arc?
I'm going through my notes.
Yeah, we take notes, people. This is professional.
Yeah, a lot going on. Can we go to you first, and I'll just double check?
Yeah, no, like pretty much for me, I really just loved looking at all of the tournament strength-based stuff, like the longer legs that Danny pointed out. Like to me, that stuff reminds me of Naruto fans will know the moment when Shikamaru is using the shadow paralysis and then turns backwards and his opponent has a wall behind him.
Yeah.
Like that kind of strategic fighting, I absolutely love it. The strategies, not just like overpowering the opponent. That's what I think this arc did amazingly well. And just the back and forth. Like when he stuck his foot into the bottom of the tournament thing without touching out, like that to me was crazy because everyone thought Goku already won. And no, this guy actually somehow balanced in that situation.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about early Naruto. And then that's kind of why I had so many mixed feelings about the whole the turtle hermit training method and stuff. Because on one hand, it's so basic that he's like, you already know how to punch, you already know how to kick. Then on the other hand, it gave him so much freedom to kind of do whatever they want with the fights, and it doesn't have to be super serious. But on the other hand, it kind of, it determines what they do throughout the rest of the entire series as far as determining how to get stronger. Like it's literally training, which is I love training arcs.
Yeah, and I like that because some shows don't really show the training. Like training some shows just like skip. There's like a time skip.
And then I love it. This show always shows the training, dude. Well, not always, but like 80% of the time. And I like how every time that Goku trains, he always learns something new. It's not just the same old, stuff. Later on when he climbs Karin Tower, not going to spoil anything beyond that, and he trains up in the. I don't want to spoil it, but anyways, he learns so many lessons there about martial arts. Then later on with Kaio-sama, like he's always learning. You know what I mean? Something interesting every time, And there's a very relevant moment in Dragon Ball Z. I don't want to spoil it right now. I did a video on it. If you want to watch the video I did, I think it's called The Secret of Goku Symbols, something like that. I forget. I did it earlier. Was it last year or maybe earlier? It was last year. And I talk about how Goku's symbol on his gi changes. And there's a moment later on where he has his own symbol on his gi. And nobody notices it. It's not something that is told to you by the narrator or told to you by Goku. You have to pick up on it. And that shows that Goku in his own mind has achieved mastery of the martial arts. And it's a tremendous little, what do you call a little Easter egg that is not noticeable because they never point to it. But if you look at it, oh, wow,
I love little things like that.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, that was really, I didn't even know that, but that's really interesting stuff.
I can tell you where it's at exactly, or you can watch the video. I can send you the video. So you can
for sure. And by the way, if I didn't make it clear already, Geekdom101 YouTube channel, check it out. Anime Dude YouTube channel, check it out. I'll link those in the description as well.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I just want to mention the couple things that I had here that we didn't. So a lot of that stuff you talked about stuck out to me. Love the training, love the tournament. I liked it better than the first arc. I spoke about how the first arc started a little slow for me, but a couple things that stuck out. I found it was interesting because I knew of Krillen based on the kind of fandom of Dragon Ball Z, so I knew there was a Krillen. It was cool to see how they met.
Right.
That stuck out. The tail growing back, I'm curious about that because I thought that was the problem anymore. And from what I understand, again, I'm going into the future here. From what I watched as a kid, I know that was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure Gohan has a tail as well, and I don't think Goku does. So I'm curious to see how that grew back, what the status of that's going to be, and then just learning a bit about their age. Now we have particular context. I think they said Krillen's 13, Goku's 12. So we knew they were kids, but I get that context. Bulma said she's older, so
she is.
Some information's getting more clear.
What is
they do explain the tales later on that they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Goku being 12 is interesting too, because you look at a anime like Pokemon, where Ash is 10 and he looks older than Goku.
Sure. Dude, in Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon is 12, but
I had no idea. What?
I thought she was 14, wasn't she? I've never seen Sailor Moon, but
I think she's 14 in the second arc, but I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, in the first arc she's 12. But even if you say she's 14, she looks like she's 19.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there's that one song which is Sailor Moon Girls Got Me Thinking the Wrong Thing by Bare Naked Ladies. So they probably didn't know she was 12.
Ray, you already said you kind of saw Krillin in Z and stuff, so I mean and you already see what Goku looks like in Z, right? So
yeah. And I even saw, believe it or not, I saw Krillin with hair. I know he's.
I don't. That sounds really far away. Oh man.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I think it was a Google image.
The thing is, with Dragon Ball, if you played one of the games, you're gonna learn so much. So it's so hard not to get spoiled at all.
I was just making sure first before I said it and stuff. But you feel bad for
I have these.
Oh, sorry.
I have these images splashed around, whether it be from a commercial when I was a kid or something. So it's not that I necessarily watched an episode with it. It's just being splashed around in popular culture. I came across it.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Thanks for
now things are coming together.
But here's the thing: stay away from the video games for now until you finish the series because yes, they will spoil everything. Well, not everything. See, that's another thing that I've noticed too about some of the people in the fandom is some people have grown up with the games and they think that because they play the games, they know the entire story, and that's false. The games only have highlights of the story. You're missing, sort of minutia and things like that. But those highlights are important plot points that do spoil the series. Especially Budokai 1 and Budokai 3, you're basically playing the entire story of Z at least. And and you play Revenge of King Piccolo on Wii, which is a great game. That's Dragon Ball. So, I mean, it's...
Ray, you are forbidden from playing any video games, all right?
That's all right. Not a big gamer at all.
Until the end.
Yeah, and then we'll have some crazy adventures. So
you'll have a good time playing
yeah.
those, especially if it's the PS2 ones. Those are my favorites.
I don't know if I asked you yet, Danny, but how do you feel about GT?
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I like some
Fair
of
enough.
it. I think the first like half is a little bit slow. It's really, really slow. But I also has this kind of like late 90s dreary kind of look to it. Like anime that came out in like 96, 97, 98 has a certain look to it where it kind of has this depressive look. So it doesn't look as bright and as shiny as like Dragon Ball and Z. And so, I mean, it just has a different feel to it. I don't hate it though. I think, like I said, some of it is pretty boring, but not all of it. And I don't think it's just straight trash either. I just think it's not as good as its predecessors. Yeah. That's how I feel.
I could critique the heck out of GT, but at the same time, I think there's some things that did better than Super without getting into specifics.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Quite a few things.
Don't set of problems.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, cool. Guys, this was awesome. I think that's pretty much it for this episode right here. And Ray, do you feel like you learned something today?
Absolutely. And I liked the talking about the other animes too, to give some context about, those comedic elements from the first arc, from this arc. So appreciate both of your insights. I think I learned, not that it wouldn't have been great with just Gozen, but I learned a lot more with you guys on board.
For sure. And I can promise you that Geekdom101, aka Danny, knows more about Dragon Ball than me. So this has been like, I've learned a lot here
I
well.
will tell you this tidbit that I actually was going to mention a minute ago about tournament arc. I don't know if you know this, but Dragon Ball in Japan was not a hit until that arc. It actually, the sales for the Dragon Ball manga when it was first coming out for that Pilaf arc were not that great. They were a step down from slump. And what happened was Toriyama's editor Torishima told him, he's like, why don't you do like a tournament, like more martial arts stuff? And it was his idea. And so when Toriyama was doing Slump, right, he would do these special arcs called the Grand Prix, which were funny. Like Toriyama would actually make himself a character. Toriyama exists in the Slump universe, like as a bird, as Toriyama, and in human form. It's wacky. And so the tournaments in Dragon Ball became like sort of like the season finales, even though they really weren't seasonal, because Dragon Ball, when it aired in Japan, had no seasonal breaks. Dragon Ball Z and GT aired straight through from 86 to 97 with no breaks, except for like preemption due to baseball and, year end and holidays. But there was no seasonal breaks. Like every week there was a new Dragon Ball episode, which is crazy because we don't do that here. It's just a Japanese thing. Same thing with other shows like One Piece. One Piece is just ongoing, like every week, boom, 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 boom. Imagine the work. But what I was trying to say was when the tournament happened, 21st Budokai, that boosted sales. So that was kind of the first indicator that people wanted to see a little bit more action, a little bit less comedy, and you see the transition as the series progresses.
Yeah, and I remember every time I've seen a tournament arc in Dragon Ball, like it was the most exciting thing I've ever experienced.
Oh, 100%. Thank God for that editor. But
yes,
that's what, Ray. I don't know what you typically watch and stuff, since you said you'd never watched an anime before, but kind of like what Danny just said, I hope you get kind of used to that and stuff, because it really is a crazy thing once you do get into anime and manga. Seeing how the way that they're made changes how the entire stories are laid out. Getting to see that whenever stories are made week to week, that they kind of gradually change over time like that, and then you kind of get to witness that happen afterwards. It's kind of a crazy thing that's different than anything you'd ever watch otherwise.
Yeah, and the other thing too, to add on to what you were saying is in Japan, usually it's one author writing the entire story. So like One Piece, it's Oda. Dragon Ball is Toriyama. You don't have it like in American comics where you have 700 people writing Spider-Man. You start with Stan Lee, then you get to Todd McFarlane. Like you have all these different writers writing the same character. For Japan, it's usually one guy or like one guy and his editor or whatever. Horikoshi for My Hero Academia, and that's interesting to me. But also because these things keep going, there's a lot more discovery writing. So instead of it being this sort of laid out plan, which apparently Oda has one, but Toriyama certainly didn't. Making it up as they go along. Like there's basic ideas of stuff they're gonna do in the future, but they don't have everything super mapped out like in detail. But yet some of these writers are really good at making it fit together. And some you have plot holes. But I mean,
that's why it can have its downsides, no doubt. Discovery writing isn't like all sunshine and rainbows, but whenever it works, it works. And
right. And some guys can do it better than others, for sure.
100%.
Yeah. And Oda like always thinks he's gonna finish like soon, and then he never does because stuff pops up in the middle, and that's the beauty of it too. Like if we just had the ending that Oda knows and that we know that Luffy will find the One Piece, then that would be a boring story. So
it'll kind of keep you guessing and stuff.
In the middle stuff is like what it's all about.
I wonder if the One Piece is going to end up being like the secret of friendship or some BS like
well,
that.
I mean, I think like whatever it is, it's going to be satisfying. Obviously, that's going to be part of it. The journey is definitely part of the greatness, but I feel like it will be something satisfying as well.
Yeah. I hope so. I'm just worried that like people who get into this show, One Piece, and they watch like thousands of episodes, and then it ends up being a Game of Thrones thing where the ending is just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like
like How I Met Your Mother kind of thing.
Like Lost had that ending that everybody hated. Like, and same thing with The Sopranos. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen with One Piece, but there's always the possibility that the longer it goes, what's gonna happen, and then people are gonna complain either way.
Yeah. Oh, the expectations build the longer the series goes, and then it gets hard
for One Piece, it'll be hard to like create a satisfying ending for everybody. But if anyone can do it, I think Oda can pull it off.
Right, for sure. I agree. We'll see, but I'm just saying it would be funny. I hope it doesn't happen because I have a lot of fans who are into, or a lot of friends who are fans who are into it. But it's tricky, man. When these things go years and years and years, it's tricky.
Right. Sure. Listen, these One Piece fans, all right. One Piece is shows like that. Let me tell you one thing: none of those characters can beat up Goku. All right. That's what
yeah, I love when people just make things about power scaling. It's like, who cares? Not one planetary character. Who cares?
Yeah, there's more to Dragon Ball than that.
Definitely.
I mean, I like scaling once in a while for fun, but there's a lot more to it than that.
No, and I like power scaling too for fun, but like I would never be like, I like the show better because they're stronger characters.
I agree. It's a thing to look at, but yeah, I find it funny how far some people go with it sometimes. Like I just like memeing about it.
I've never seen more loyal people than people arguing about their series and their character being stronger than others.
Oh, dude, I've never seen anybody get more hate than
it's crazy.
Stronger than Goku. Like, oh man, there's not a comment in that.
Man.
It's just kind of dumb to me because I've seen people say stuff like, well, Dragon Ball Z is better than Dragon Ball because there's transformations and they're stronger. I'm like, no, that's like you're no offense, but you're a simpleton. Because GT, they're strong. Saying GT's better than Dragon Ball Z, get out of here. Like, it doesn't matter. Dragon Ball, in my opinion, compared to Z, has better storytelling and better fighting overall. Z has some good stuff too, better moments, I would say, but the overall package, I think, is better.
Well, you're looking at things like storytelling and how it all fits together, but
and how it wraps up and everything. Yeah, I think that makes a good point. But
as stupid as some of those comments are, I wouldn't have people change their opinion for the world because
no, exactly, and it doesn't bother me at all when people.
No, it doesn't bother you, but it's like there's more to it than that,
Oh yeah, I just get great joy from hearing somebody like honestly have that opinion that like Z's better because it has transformations or something like that.
I mean, you get joy, but it gives me headaches, bro. Because like you're not even getting it. Like, you're not even.
And they probably haven't watched Dragon Ball.
Danny, let me give you some advice right here. All right, when you see any type of toxicity like that, you don't fight it with logic, man. You laugh at it, and it makes.
I've been around for 5 years, bro. I've seen everything.
You've been around for a long time, even before YouTube, right?
No, well, I mean, I wasn't born 5 years ago, but I mean, I'm just saying what you're talking about. I've seen.
Oh, I'm sure.
Everywhere, dude. Yeah, no, I've learned a lot about. I don't get into debates anymore. I've learned a lot about that. I just present the information, and if they don't want to accept it, they might not anymore.
There you go.
But I definitely used to. So I wish you would have told me that 5 years ago.
I wish I would have known that 5 years ago.
No, I agree. Like you just gotta, put out your ideas, and if someone brings up something good, then adapt, like adjust in the next video. But going back and forth will never pay off.
I agree. Unless with a friend. That's
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. definitely cool. I hope we'll have both of you guys back on at some point. We'll talk about it. And yeah, guys, I'm gonna say again the episodes we're covering next week, just because everyone always asks. So Red Ribbon Army Saga, a part of it, the beginning, episodes 29 to 45, and the manga chapters would be 54 to 69. It's been me, Gozen from AnimeUproar, YouTube and Twitch channel, Ray, Geekdom101 from YouTube, and Anime Dude from YouTube and from Twitch. I'm going to link it below in the YouTube video and in the podcast. So thank you guys once again for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Yes, it was a good time, man. I enjoyed it. And I look forward to Ray continuing to watch this because it only gets better from here, honestly.
Thanks, guys. No, I'm super excited.